Good morning, everyone, and Shabbat Shalom. This week's Torah portion contains the remarkable story of the binding of Isaac, the ultimate challenge and test when God says, take your beloved son Isaac and bring him as an offering on Mount Moriah. And it's fascinating to note that this story contains the first conversation ever recorded in the Torah between a parent and a child. There are no recorded stories of Adam and Eve speaking to their children. There are no recorded stories of Noah speaking to their children. But as they're walking to Mount Moriah, father and son, hand in hand, Isaac turns to his father and he calls his father Avi, Dad. And here we find the first word communicated to the first child in the Torah when Abraham looks at his son and responds with the famous word, Hineni, here I am. And we know that in Hebrew, our rabbis explain, the word Hineni doesn't just mean yes. It means Hineni, I am here. I am fully present. I am here for you. And it's so powerful to think that the first word that the first parent speaks to the child is, my son, I am here for you. I am fully present. And that in itself is a remarkable lesson. So often, especially in today's modern day and age with technology, we respond to our children, but we're distracted. We're on the phone, we're texting, we're emailing, we're looking at something else as we speak to them. Hineni means, my child, I'm here for you unconditionally, with all my love, with all my presence. Children don't need presence with a T, they need your presence, your time. And that's the first word the first parent speaks to the first child. But to take it a step further, in what context does the father say to the son, I am here for you? In the context of going together to make a sacrifice, to give of themselves. A matter of fact, our rabbis say that when God tells Abraham, don't sacrifice Isaac, Abraham says, I'm confused. Yesterday you told me to go sacrifice my son, now you tell me not to. And God says, I never told you to sacrifice your son. I didn't say take him to Mount Moriah and slaughter him. I said, V'haleu sham, elevate him, raise him up on the mountain. I never intended for you to slaughter him. I didn't say, Yishchateu, slaughter him. I said, elevate him, raise him up. And indeed, that's what God wanted. That when the father and child walk together to make a sacrifice for God, that experience will teach the child that we have to live for something beyond ourselves. And that father and son, families must live together knowing that they have a higher calling, a higher purpose. Elevate the child. And how do you do that? By saying, I'm fully with you and present for you as we go to do the will of Hashem, the will of God, our Father in heaven. And this is the eternal message of the binding of Isaac. As parents, we have to respond to our children, Hineni, be fully present. Look them in the eyes, show them your unconditional love and devotion, and let them know you're always there for them. But do it in the context of going higher, elevating one another. How do we raise up our children? By teaching them to go beyond their self-interests and serve a higher purpose and a higher calling in this world. It's a remarkable story I read about this woman. She says that she has this memory as a child. The circus came to town, and her father said, come, I'm going to take you to the circus. They came to the circus, they got online. As they came closer to the teller, there was a family in front of them. Father, mother, 3 children. And she could see that the children were so excited. They were going to the circus. They were bubbling with enthusiasm and joy. When they came to the teller, the man said, I need 5 tickets. My wife, myself, the 3 children. The teller added up the amount, the cashier, and the man suddenly looked shocked. It was much more than he expected it to be. He had miscalculated. For some reason, he thought it was less. He starts counting his money, recounting his money, realizing he doesn't have. And she said, she watched as suddenly the joy started to drain from the children's face, as anxiety and tension came over the family. Would they be able to go to the circus? And the man looked very distraught, not having enough money to take his family. And suddenly, she said, my father took the money he was holding, dropped it on the floor, tapped the man on the shoulder and said, sir, I think you dropped something. The man looked down, saw the cash, looked up, picked it up, and smiled at my father, knowing what he did. He turned around to pay the teller, the cashier, as the children regained their excitement and their enthusiasm and watched them happily march into the circus. At that point, she said, my father looked down at me and said, I'm sorry, but I don't have money now for us to go into the circus. I gave them all my money. And she said, my father and I turned around and walked back to the parking lot, got into our car, and we drove home in silence. She said, that was such a disappointing day for me. I didn't go to the circus. But the memory of that experience, the love of my father, his selflessness, his sacrifice, remains with me till today. And even after my father has passed on, that warms my heart every time I think of it. And yes, I didn't get to go to the circus that day, but my father gave me a much greater gift, a gift of love that lasts until today. Have a wonderful day.